When I do a custom championship, it's because I'm completely behind it. The game, the series, cars, tracks, the mods. All of these things not only have to be technically top-notch, they also have to appeal to me emotionally. The 1986 F1 season was the first one I consciously experienced. I remember watching the highlights of the Australian Grand Prix on German television. The race was classic F1 in a nutshell. Cars that were almost impossible to control, superhumans behind the wheel, countless overtaking maneuvers and lead changes, several virtual winners, and in this case, world champions. And then the drama, no, the tragedy surrounding Mansell, his tire blowout on lap 63, which literally burst all his title dreams. Those images, impressions, and thrills have been hardwired into my brain ever since. I am well aware that a video series like this is less suited to channel expansion, but more of a fan service. And that's precisely why everything has to be just right here for me. My aim is not to be a copy of a copy of a copy. That's why I'm also using this format to experiment and develop myself as a content creator, trying out new ideas and assets. I'll be happy if I've raised the bar a little higher for myself and if you're having a good time here. So, in this first video about my 1986 F1 Custom Championship, I'll show you how I'm setting up the championship in Automobilista 2 to get the most challenge, authenticity, and fun out of it for you and me.
So in my opinion, the best way to set up a custom championship in AMS2 is by picking the championship tab, then click new, and then use one of the 10 custom championship slots. For completion's sake, I'd like to add that there indeed is a dedicated Formula Classic Gen1 championship. However, that one does not really fulfill my criteria. And this is why I'm going with the custom slot. I have already gave it its proper name. If you want to edit that, click on the pencil icon up there, enter your championship name, hit continue. Then second, select the vehicle class or classes. In our case, this is the Formula Classic Gen1. Then the opponent number has to certainly match either the car slots that are provided by Razer, the number of cars in that class or classes, or has to match the number of drivers in the custom AI. As I'm using Alain Fry's amazing skin pack and custom AI for this, I of course pick 25 drivers. Next up, we've got the score type, and this is certainly one of the, at least for me, crucial parameters. AMS2 offers a lot of them. Luckily for us, there is a fitting score type. This is the top 6 option number 2 with the points allocation they used in real back in 1986. Then there are these, let's say, rules parameters. Pit stop refueling certainly was not allowed back then. So it's no. It was even limited to 195 liters back then. And as a matter of fact, the 1986 F1 season was the only season where only turbo cars raced. Full course yellow, no. Luckily, no. Pit speed limit, actually there was none, but 240 is the most the game offers. That's one request I would have for Razer to make that unlimited, so to say. And now for the fun part. The actual season, the tracks I'm going to use, the distance I will be racing, and so forth. You can see the first entry here already. That is the Jacarepaguá historic 1988 track representing the Brazilian Grand Prix of 1986. I have set it up already, but just let's take another look into the details. Practice, qualifying race 1 and 2. For my need, well, only qualifying and race 1 are relevant. I will do the practice outside of the championship. The qualification is on, as well as race 1 is on. There is no race 2, certainly. I will do 30 minutes of qualification time at 1300 or 1 p.m., which corresponds to what they did in reality. I chose default progressing for the live track preset, meaning the more cars that are on track, the quicker the track will get, the better the asphalt will be, the more grip you will have, unless the weather changes, of course. In the case of the Brazilian Grand Prix, certainly I'm going for the actual date, and that is March the 23rd, 1986, start time 1400, time progression 2 times, and there you have it, guys. I'm going to do a 50% race distance championship here. And this is why time progression is on 2 times and the number of laps is on 31. If it was an uneven number in reality, I'd go for 1 more lap. I've already checked whether the real historic weather is working or not. And in the case of Jacarepaguá, it is indeed working. So I picked real historic weather. Weather progression is also on 2 times then. We have a standing start. We don't have a formation lap. This is excluded as soon as you pick standing. Formation lap is only allowed if you're doing a rolling start. Well, that's also a little sort of a pity. For even more authenticity, it would actually be cool to also have a formation lap when doing a standing start, and that the game would require us to find our slot on the grid. It would actually be a cool feature, but it's not there in Amos 2, so it's just standing start. Will we have a mandatory pit stop? No, we don't. That wasn't in the rules. And as a matter of fact, the guys actually only went into the pits when necessary. Meaning when they sort of realized that there was something wrong with the car, mostly the tires, they went in. There were a couple of races where most of the drivers didn't come in even once. Meaning they started on 195 liters with one set of, well, pretty good and hard rubber tires, and they made that until the end, getting faster and faster and faster with each lap. Amazing in itself, if you ask me. Scheduled full course yellow? Of course not. And the live track preset is also on default progressing, but that of course means that the latest stage is applied. And as I've already chosen default progressing for qualification, the state of the qualifying is taken over into the race. I can't stress that enough. Make sure to save your custom championship. Don't forget to save, especially if you're setting it up like me, a bit more complex and complicated, and you're not getting done in one stint. Save it, because if you don't, it's simply lost. Pro tip from my side, set up the first round, as they call it, as detailed and correctly as you can, and only then add a second round. Because what the game does is it just copies the entry you have already done. So in my case, it copies the Jacarepaguá Historic 1988 round with all its settings, duplicates it, and the benefit, of course, is that my, let's say, session settings are already spot on. So I won't have to deal again with turning practice and race 2 off and setting the time for the qualification. Everything else, of course, has to be edited. And in our case, that is the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez Historic 1988, which took place on April the 13th over a distance of 72 laps. In my case, that means 36 laps. Again, these settings are correct. Won't have to edit or alter them. So here we go. And consequently, of course, also the qualifying is set accordingly. We won't have to change anything here. So that's all we have to do for the second race. And we can now go ahead and add another round. So, and here we are. This will be my race calendar. Jacarepaguá Historic 1988, aka Brazilian Grand Prix. Spanish Grand Prix will take place at Jerez Historic 1988. The third round is going to be the San Marino Grand Prix at Historic Imola 1988. Round 4, Spa-Francorchamps Historic 1993, the Belgian Grand Prix. Round 5, Montreal Historic 1988, Canadian Grand Prix. Round 6 is my home race, so to say. Hockenheim Historic 1988. Round 7, Italian Grand Prix at Monza Historic 1991. Round 8, Cascais Historic, aka Estoril, aka Portuguese Grand Prix, on the historic 1988 layout or version, and the season finale, like in real, it's going to take place at the Adelaide historic 1988 street circuit in Australia. Why these 9 and not, for example, Spielberg 1977, Monaco, or Brands Hatch, which are certainly also in the game? There's a reason for that, or there are a couple of reasons. Spielberg, though, let's say layout-wise and regarding the whole ambience, would be quite fitting. I simply don't like racing there very much, and in conjunction with the AI, none of my test races was actually pretty much fun. Moreover, the AI wasn't very quick, especially in and around the chicane, which, in my opinion, well, more or less destroyed most of the fun, and it just didn't feel good. In the case of Brands Hatch or the Azure circuit, aka Monaco, it's just an issue of period of time. The versions in AMS2 are the modern versions of the track, though the actual layout is still 95% the same as back in 1986. The vibes are totally different, in my opinion. Racing here on modern Monaco, well, it doesn't have anything to do with what the vibes and the ambience was back in the day. And I think the same goes for Brands Hatch. They're even, well, the curbing, the profiling of the curbs, and certainly all the surroundings, well, for me, they just don't fit. These 9 rounds or tracks, in my opinion, are the best setup for a diverse and exciting championship. Montreal, Hockenheim, and Adelaide are a slight problem child here for me, to be honest. There, the AI wasn't as quick or as realistic as I wish them to be. However, I like the tracks, the layouts, and the overall vibes of these locations. And honestly, doing an 86 of 1 championship and not ending at Adelaide, for me at least, that felt wrong. So, now we've reached the final stages of setting up that custom championship. Look at that. Here's still, or again, an overview of the available models in the game. We have the Model 1, which corresponds to the Williams FW11. The Model 2 car here represented by the Benetton, but it actually mostly corresponds to the Eros car of that year. And certainly we have the Lotus 90AT as an original car. And ta-da! Surprise, surprise, guys. Thanks a lot for your vote. In the community section, I asked you which car you want me to drive, and 49% of you voted for the Lotus. So certainly it's going to be the number 11 car of Johnny Dumfries. Also meaning that I'm in the same team as a certain Ayrton Senna. And let me just add that it's still a pity that AMS2 does not support a manufacturer's championship. That would also be a great addition for the custom championship or championship in general. So now, as we've set up everything, we can now hit next for a final overview of everything we have edited. So we've got me in the Lotus, we've got Theo Fabi in the Benetton, Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari, Riccardo Patrese in the Brabham, Nigel Mansell in the Williams, Stefan Johansson, second Ferrari, Alain Prost in the McLaren, of course, defending world champion, by the way, Patrick Tambay in the Lola/Haas team, Huub Rotengatter in the Zack-Speed, Nelson Piquet in the second Williams, René Arnoux, the Ligier, Thierry Boutsen in the Arrows, Philipp Streif in the Tyrrell, Gerhard Berger in the Benetton, Christian Danner in the Osella/Alfa Romeo, Andrea De Cesaris and Alessandro Nannini in the Menardis, Jonathan Palmer in the second West Zack-Speed, Marc Surer in the second Arrows, Jacques Lafitte in the second Ligier, Elio De Angelis in the second Brabham, Keke Rosberg in the second McLaren, Alan Jones in the second Lola, Ayrton Senna in the, well, second Lotus, let's see, Martin Brundle in the second Tyrrell, and Piercarlo Ghinzani in the second Osella Alpha. So this is the final tab before now we can hit that button and nothing can be reversed, so to say, and the championship is going to start. Here's a final overview of the tracks. Again, this tab telling us what the next round is going to be. In my case, that's of course round 1 at Jacarepaguá. We're going to do 30 minutes of qualifying. The race is going to be 31 laps long. And the session settings for that first race are going to be these, which I still can edit here before starting the race. And this is certainly one of the best features in AMS2 because it helps me to adjust the settings prior to every race or round or Grand Prix, if you want. In my case, I'm going to stay on race distance 100% because otherwise that would mean decreasing the amount of laps. It's a bit sketchy here. See, sometimes it doesn't correspond if I hover over it with my cursor. So don't be afraid to do that several times. You have it activated. Of course, I will stay on race distance scale 100, but the AI scale is going to be a little less for Jacarepaguá. I'm going to start with 110. However, guys, also here, this is not carved into stone. You may edit, modify, correct, adapt the AI skill prior to every session, which is quite a nice feature, especially for 1986 F1, where they did much faster times in the quali than they did in the race, of course. So it's actually possible here to do the qualification on, let's say, 120 AI skill, save that, not do the race directly after a qualifying session, but go out of the session, reload the championship, and in this menu, decrease the AI skill to a level that you find suitable for the race. And why I'm telling you this? Because actually my championship is more or less built on that AI skill slider. Actually, I have set up a spreadsheet with my whole championship in here, where I also took note of the prospective AI skills that I found fitting while doing my testing and practice races. And there you can see that I'm not fully done yet. There are still some more cells empty. So before doing the actual first Grand Prix, I will have to do a bit more testing. But what I found is that, yeah, here it says AI skill for the race 108. So I think I'm going to go even a bit higher for the AI skill in the quali at the Brazilian Grand Prix. One more note, that's an important one. This column, the actual real historic weather in AMS2 works for most of the locations and time of dates, except Onza. There, I will have to set the weather manually to sunny and warm. And same goes for the Australian Grand Prix at Adelaide, the season finale, where this date just wouldn't work. You will have to set it manually to have the actual weather. Regarding gameplay options, these are my settings. I will drive with my MP44 replica wheel and use, of course, my manual shifter with clutch, brake, and throttle pedal. What's important here is mainly this value. Fuel usage is on authentic, not on 2 times, which I regularly do. Thanks again for that tip to Alain Fry, with whom I talked about this championship, and he gave me a lot of tips and insights into his experiences. And actually, this is something I'm really looking forward to, because I find that even on 2 time, the progression of how the car gets lighter is too quick. So lap times are improving big time, and it's getting only worse if you're doing, let's say, 33% distance races or even less. So in our case, that means I'll go with authentic and we'll have around 95 to 100 liters when I start the race, which again is 50% race distance. It also means that I think most of the time fuel won't be an issue, at least not for me. Let's see what the AI is going to do. The caveat, of course, is, and I'm well aware of the fact that I'm taking a bit of, well, realism out of the championship by going for that option, because in real, they had to do a lot of fuel management. But on the pro side, I will have a more authentic progression of how times are evolving. And again, I'm following Alain's pro tip here, who says it is just the better race experience against the AI. So I'm going for that one. For completion's sake, these are my display settings. And if you're interested, these are my camera settings, field of view, and movement. Actually, not that much. I like it pretty stable. On the control side, I'm going with default plus, 35% gain, in-game gain. The per vehicle gain is on 100%, as is the value in the SimiCube software for my SimiCube Sport 2, meaning it's on 100%. FX is on 25, damping is on 50, no menu spring strength. These are my graphics and performance settings, just so you know. And with these, I achieve at least 100 FPS in normal conditions, that is when there are about 20 cars around me. Now, we're all set up with the championship, and the next thing you want to do is to hit that start button and actually start your 1986 F1 Championship in Automobilista 2. So thanks for watching, and see you next time when I will hit the track at Jacarepaguá in Brazil.